So Texas has come along and said, that part of the Constitution that says that any federal law shall become the supreme law of the land, that doesn't count. That doesn't apply to us. There were, as I recall, there was one state that said this prior to November of 1860, and 6 states that said it between November and March of 1860, so that by the time Abraham Lincoln was sworn into office, at the time that Abraham Lincoln was sworn into office, as I recall, it was 7 states. I updated my memory banks on this. Remember last week I said, it's been a while since I've had this conversation with anybody. So Sunday, Louise and I went to see this movie about the history of the environmental movement. Robert Redford narrates part of it. It's called something about a green fire. I don't have the title of it in front of me, but it's A Fierce Green Fire, The Battle for a Living Planet. So anyhow, we went to see this movie, and it is at the E Street Theater here in Washington, D.C., and, it's, the sad news. This was a movie about the history of the environmental movement, and there were 4 people in the theater, Louise and I and one other couple. The good news, it's a brilliant movie. I really encourage you to see it. But the E Street Cinema here in Washington, D.C. is at the corner of E and 11th, which is right around the block from the Ford Theater. And so we got there about a half hour, 45 minutes early, so we went into the Ford Theater. And, got a free ticket and walked through and saw where Lincoln got shot and the whole bit. And then we went across the street and walked through the house, the Peterson House, I think it's called, where he died, and, saw where he died and there's all this whole history of the Civil War. So anyhow, that's my recollection that nullification has been tried before, that we litigated that arguably, using that word very carefully, with this thing called the Civil War. And I thought the issue was settled. But for some reason, ever since Obama's election, and I do agree with my friend Joe Madison that there is a racial component to this, because it's, although they went after Bill Clinton like they were crazy too. I mean, they tried to impeach him over having, not even quite sex. I guess you could call it sex, using Clinton's definitions. Whatever. They tried to impeach you. I don't care if he had real sex. It's like, they tried to impeach him for that, or for lying about it. And before that, they were trying to shoot down every single Republican in the House, for example, voted against the Balanced Budget Act that ended up offering, giving us a balanced budget. And then weirdly, later, Newt Gingrich tried to take credit for it several times. Oh, yeah, that happened when I was Speaker of the House, except that every single Republican voted against it. So, well, in any case. So what are we going to do about this nullification thing, too? Here we have 4 states now that have said, we're not really part of the union. We don't really have to follow those rules. We'll be right back.